You probably already know that you can use AI to create content. So, if you're someone who makes a lot of content for social media or for any other purposes, you've probably tried leveraging ChatGPT or Gemini or other AI tools to create social media content. Now, one of the biggest problems when you create content using AI is that it can sound robotic, it can sound a bit mechanical. So, if that's your problem, then you're in the right place because in this video, we'll discover a few ways in which you can humanize your AI created content. So, let's get started. Now, I'm using Gemini for this particular example, but you can use any other AI tool of your choice. But essentially, what I'm doing is I'm asking Gemini to help me write a simple blog post on the topic exercise tips for beginners, and I'm saying that hey, keep it short, around 500 words. So let's see the kind of response that Gemini comes up with. Okay, not bad. As you can see, the kind of response that I've gotten is very simple, very straightforward. So it says getting started, your guide to exercise for beginners, take the first step towards a healthier lifestyle is fantastic. It can feel daunting, all of that. Here are a few tips. Start slow and steady, find activities you enjoy, set realistic goals, focus on proper form, listen to your body, stay hydrated. It's not a bad start at all, but let's say if you were reading this for the first time, a couple of things you might notice, right? That one, it might sound a bit vague and generic, and it lacks a bit of personalization, right? It almost sounds mechanical and robotic. So when you're reading something like this, you may not connect with something like this. So if you want your audience to connect with what you're creating, you want to have some bit of soul in it, right? Like some bit of personalization. So there's a few ways to do this. I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, one of the most important ways to personalize the AI created content is to add some personal context. So in this case, as you can see, I'm giving the AI Gemini a bit of personal context about why am I writing a blog post about fitness in the first place. So I'm saying that, okay, here's a few of my experiences with starting exercise as a beginner. I used to struggle a lot. I could not run even a single kilometer, do a single push-up. And here's a few things I started doing. Now I'm saying that include these experiences in the post and rewrite it. So what I've done here is that with the AI created generic or vague content, I try to give some personal information to have some starting point. So let's say if someone is in a similar place as me, they can maybe relate to the content a bit more. Now let's see what kind of a response Gemini comes up with this time. So getting started for real this time, exercise for beginners, taking the first step is fantastic, all of this. The reality, I remember my own initial attempts at exercise, all of this. The reality, I could barely manage a kilometer, all of this. Now again, as you can see, Gemini has integrated my perspective and my experiences in the article. So it tries to, become a little bit more human with my context, which is good. So this is a good starting point. So compared to the draft that I had before versus this one, there is a bit more personalization, which is a good start. So what you can do is you can add a bit more context and make the content more relatable for whoever your audience is. Another thing that you can do to humanize your content is replace a few keywords and phrases and make them sound a bit more, real. Add a little bit more emotion, add a little bit more personality. How do you do that? So what you can see on your screen is that I've copy pasted the same draft that Gemini came up with in a Google Doc, and I'm just making a few edits to it. So what you see in the red is what Gemini had written, and somehow these statements sounded a bit robotic or mechanical to me. So taking the first step towards a healthier lifestyle is fantastic. I'm not sure if I like this kind of a start. So what I did was that I've taken the similar structure that Gemini has given me, but I'm replacing a few statements or phrases that maybe I'm not so happy with. So I'm saying that, okay, maybe you're trying to get healthy but are struggling. Maybe you've tried to run or join a gym but are not able to stick to it. If that sounds like you, you're in the right place. And again, the red statement says, but let's be honest, sometimes that first step feels more like a stumble. I'm not sure if I resonate with that, if that's my writing style. So I'm saying I remember my own initial attempts at exercise. I envisioned myself as a natural runner. I thought I'll be able to run at least, easily run at least. reality I could barely manage a kilometer, all of this. So as you can see, I've taken the same structure that AI came up with, but a few phrases or words that didn't feel natural to me or that did not resonate with my writing style, I made those changes and I started writing my own statements. And what this does is that this adds more emotion and more personalization to your AI created content. So it's something that you resonate with personally, because again, two things: you've added your own personal context and information, and you've added some bit of your own writing style. So hopefully the end result is something that you resonate with and therefore the audience resonates with as well. Once you're done with some of these few edits on your own manually, what you can do is that you can use a few more frameworks to make your blog post or whatever content more engaging, more real, and you can improve the storytelling element in the content. How do you do that? So what I'm doing now is that I went back to Gemini and I said that, okay, now here's the draft that we have so far, right? What you need to do is that you need to borrow from the ABT framework, which is the and but therefore framework, to create a stronger narrative. And let's see what Gemini comes up with this time. Now again, the ABT framework in a nutshell helps you add a bit more storytelling and improve the quality of your narrative in whatever content you're creating. So what I'm doing over here is that I told Gemini that, okay, borrow elements from the ABT framework and rewrite the entire blog post. So as you can see, it did that, but it did that in very clear and specific way. So all the statement sounds a bit like maybe you're trying to get healthy and you've decided to exercise is the way to go, but you've joined the gym but you're not able to stick to it, and those that are the therefore to help you build a sustainable, enjoyable fitness routine. Now this is not a bad start at all, because what it's done is that it's improved the narrative, it's improved the sentence structure. So what you need to probably do is that maybe copy paste the whole thing, go back to the Google Doc and make some of these changes manually and see that, okay, do you really want this and but therefore to come out in this way? If not, then you can of course make those edits. In this case, Gemini is highlighting these, which is fine, but maybe you want it, maybe you don't. So you can again make some of these changes and make the overall narrative a bit more stronger. Now let's say I thought that, okay, this and but thing is too in your face, so that's what I'm telling Gemini, that hey, this and but therefore is too in your face, make it more subtle, build a stronger narrative and rewrite the blog post. So what I'm doing is I'm doing this iterative development of my content piece. So at every stage, whatever content that I'm getting, I'm trying to make these smaller tweaks and improvements. So 1% improvement every time, just to get it closer to what I really want to see. So let's see what kind of a narrative this time Gemini comes up with. Wanting to get healthy often leads us to consider exercise. Maybe you've tried to join a gym or run only to find yourself struggling to stick with it. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely in the right place. I remember my own initial attempts at exercise vividly. I had this image of myself, blah blah blah. Each post run ache. Okay, if you've had similar experiences. Now again, this time I think the ABT framework is a bit more subtle and the writing is a bit more closer to what I want, which is good. So that's another technique you could try as well. And one last and the most important tip that I have for you is that whenever you create any kind of AI created content, do it iteratively and in steps. So as you can see, the first draft that I had was something that was very mechanical, plain, robotic and boring, right? So it did not have any personalization, any information or connection or emotion. So slowly I started to add a bit more context with my own information. I refined a few of my own sentences. I asked Gemini to rewrite it based on the ABT framework, so on and so forth. So when you're creating any kind of AI created content, you could do the same thing. You could just treat the first draft that you get just as a first draft, because if you are struggling to get started, this is a great way to get started, right? Because it gives you a structure and then you can just build on it and make 1% improvement in every draft and get it closer to how you want the overall content to sound. And by incorporating some of these elements, adding your own touch, adding your own voice, your own writing style, speaking style, you can make your AI content a bit more human. So there you have it, a few ways to humanize your AI content. Hope you found this useful. If you did, share this video with a friend. I'll keep coming back with more AI tips and tricks. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.